you've been doing some work with colleges and universities, I think in particular Morgan State University. And I was wondering if you wanted to share some of the work you've been doing with them around improving teacher accreditation.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you asked. So I'm also the second vice president of the Oakland branch of the NAACP and the education chair as well. Formerly on the California State NAACP committee. And the NAACP has an entire arm dedicated to education and trying to find good outcomes for kids. So wearing that hat, I often am in, connecting with universities and working with people, trying to protect kids' civil rights and make sure they get access to education. But this conversation about Morgan State is different. This was something that the NAACP is definitely interested in. But for me and my nonprofit Fulcrum, we realized, wait a second. They're doing something that's very, very important. One, Morgan State is a historically Black college and university. It is one of the most prestigious in the country. It's in the Maryland area. And they are, one, looking to become accredited through the International Dyslexia Association, their knowledge and practice standards, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
Not very many schools in the country have done that. But they're in the final stages of being accredited, which would be a landmark. And secondly, they have infused the principles of the science and reading into their program in a functional way. They're led by a phenomenal doctor. There's several professors. There's a wonderful, but I've connected with Dr. Simone Gibson, who is also a Spelman College alumnus. I'm a Morehouse College alumnus. Those are sister schools, functionally speaking. And we've met, we've connected. And I said, you're doing some wonderful work there. I wonder what we could do to bring what you're doing to greater light. And that's what we're trying to do. We have connected them with groups in the area that are involved with very innovative methods of structuring their practicum. There are some people that have used technology to do tutoring so that people have on-the-job experience, or should I say pre-service experience, teaching children to read. It's just a phenomenal effort. I'm so proud of Morgan State and the work that they're doing. They've made sure that dyslexia is on the front burner, not the back burner. So when people go into schools, they already have this gift, this knowledge of how to teach a child to read, even children with learning differences. The thing is that these type of efforts usually go unnoticed. Nobody hears about Morgan State doing this, but that's got to change. We as a society have to elevate the institutions that are committed to social justice through education, not because we're, having them parrot a certain dogma or doctrine or whatever philosophies, but because they have the skill to teach reading to our children early and consistently in Tier 1 instruction. That's the social justice link. And so I'm just so incredibly proud of them. In fact, we're going to be showing the Right to Read film at Morgan State in partnership with several local branches of the NAACP. Hopefully someone from the state branch or conference can come as well. But we're all in on Morgan State because Morgan State is all in on our kids. And I would encourage anyone to go to the, I believe it's called the Black and Dyslexic podcast show. We oftentimes don't think of dyslexia as being a Black thing. For whatever reason, it's painted with this color of white. But it's equal opportunity. It's a neurological processing difference. Everybody gets, but we don't, so that's why it's even more important for a historically Black college and university to say, hey, wait a second, this applies to all kids. So we want to make sure our people, our trainees, our credentialed candidates are able to service all students, including those with neurological processing differences. And so I'm just so glad. That's one example, but it's one that we are very, very excited about at Fulcrum. And also that the local and state conference at NAACP is also excited about because Morgan State really can make a huge difference in this fight against illiteracy.
Absolutely. And there's a couple of threads in there that I'd love to talk about. First, you mentioned the knowledge and practice standards from IDA. Right. And yeah. I think so many folks don't know about those standards. And as you said, they're phenomenal. And then to have teachers coming out of school understanding what dyslexia is. And I think you mentioned that, these explicitness, systematic things that people often associate with students with dyslexia are beneficial for all students. and making sure that teachers understand that as part of their undergrad so they don't have to feel like they need to go out and find their own education once they get in the classroom. So that's phenomenal that Morgan State is seeking that accreditation and that they're looking to drive that equity through educating their teachers so that when they enter that classroom, they know the underlying. That's the powerful thing of those knowledge and practice standards is you're going to have a different classroom, different set of profiles every year. But if you have those underlying ingredients, those underlying pillars, if you will, you can use assessment, you can work with those students. We're not teaching them one recipe, we're teaching them the ingredients.